What if I told you jaguars get high, dolphins self-medicate, and birds drink themselves into a stupor? No, this isn't some weird cartoon, it's nature, and scientists are still trying to figure out how they know exactly what they're doing. Elephants know their medicine. Elephants have been practicing plant-based medicine long before humans figured out aspirin. When they're sick, in pain, or even pregnant, they don't wait around. They know which plants to eat and when to eat them. No doctors, no prescriptions, just instinct and centuries of survival. Let's start with elephant childbirth. In Kenya, researchers noticed pregnant elephants making long treks to find Boraginaceae plants. Shortly after eating them, they gave birth. Scientists believe these plants act as natural labor inducers, much like herbal remedies used by humans. The elephants don't just stumble upon them, they seek them out when the time is right. But that's just one example. Elephants also treat their own digestive issues. In Thailand, they've been seen chewing on bitter bark and specific leaves when they have stomach problems. These plants contain tannins and alkaloids, known for their ability to kill parasites. Essentially, elephants have their own version of deworming medication, without needing a vet visit. And when they're injured, they don't sit around hoping for the best. Elephants know how to prevent infections. Wounded elephants deliberately strip bark from antimicrobial trees and chew on it. Some even rub the bark over their wounds, using it like an antiseptic. They also throw mud over cuts and scrapes, a natural bandage that seals wounds and keeps bacteria out. Meanwhile, humans still debate whether hydrogen peroxide does more harm than good. They also adjust their diet based on the season. During dry months, elephants often travel farther to find moisture-rich plants like baobab bark, not just to hydrate, but because these trees store nutrients that help with energy and immunity. It's not just about survival, it's strategic nutrition. Elephants know what their bodies need and when. Now, let's talk about the fermented fruit situation. In South Africa, elephants love eating overripe marula fruit, which contains natural alcohol. Some scientists argue they'd need to eat a massive amount to actually get drunk. Locals aren't convinced. They've reported seeing elephants stumbling, swaying, and acting strangely after a marula binge. Whether they're truly intoxicated or just enjoying life, the debate continues. Chimpanzees and herbal medicine. Chimpanzees don't just share DNA with humans, they also know how to self-medicate using plants. When they get sick, they don't sit around feeling sorry for themselves. They go straight for the natural remedies they've been using for generations. No WebMD panic, no unnecessary prescriptions, just survival instincts at work. One of the best examples comes from the Mahale Mountains in Tanzania, where scientists have watched chimps eat something that looks, well, unpleasant. They carefully select the leaves of Aspilia, a plant covered in tiny, stiff hairs. Instead of chewing, they fold the leaves up and swallow them whole. The result? Parasites are literally scraped out of their intestines as the leaves pass through. It's the chimp version of a detox cleanse, except it actually works. And that's not their only trick. In Uganda's Kabale National Park, chimps have been caught chewing the bitter bark of the Vernonia plant when they're feeling under the weather. This plant contains potent antibacterial and antiparasitic compounds, similar to some medicines used by humans. Chimps don't eat it for fun. It's far too bitter. They only seek it out when they need it, proving they understand exactly what it does. Another wild discovery: chimps in West Africa have been observed applying chewed-up leaves directly to wounds. It's one of the first recorded cases of non-human animals using plants as external medicine. They don't just eat them, they use them like a first aid kit. Researchers believe they do this to reduce pain and speed up healing. Meanwhile, humans are still slapping on overpriced band-aids that fall off in the shower. Even their poop tells a story. Researchers found undigested medicinal plant parts in chimp feces, especially during the rainy season when parasite infections spike. That means chimps adjust their herbal intake based on the time of year. Basically, they've got seasonal wellness routines. Chimps also seem to teach each other which plants to use. Younger chimps watch adults selecting and consuming medicinal plants, then copy the behavior. This isn't just instinct, it's passed down knowledge, something that looks an awful lot like chimpanzee medicine school. Jaguars and hallucinogenic vines. Jaguars aren't just apex predators, they also seem to enjoy a psychedelic experience every now and then. In the Amazon, these big cats have been caught chewing on the roots and vines of Banisteriopsis caapi, a key ingredient in the mind-altering brew known as ayahuasca. And they don't just take a nibble and walk away, they go all in. The effects? Trance-like states, increased alertness, and even strange movements that look a lot like hallucinations. Some jaguars roll around on the ground, Others stare at nothing, seemingly mesmerized. Some even start acting more aggressive right after ingesting the plant, leading some researchers to believe that jaguars use it to heighten their senses before hunting. It's either that, or they're just really into the trip. And it's not a one-time thing. Camera traps have recorded jaguars returning to the same vine patch repeatedly, sometimes days apart. They show clear intent, sniffing the vines, choosing only mature sections, and ignoring other plants nearby. That kind of behavior screams learned routine, not accident. Indigenous tribes of the Amazon have observed this behavior for centuries. In fact, some shamanic traditions involving ayahuasca were inspired by jaguars. The idea? If the jungle's most powerful predator is using it, there must be something special about it. They weren't wrong. Ayahuasca contains harmala alkaloids, which alter brain chemistry and affect serotonin levels. Jaguars, being the self-sufficient creatures they are, figured it out on their own. But why do they do it? Some experts think it helps with digestion or kills parasites. Others believe the jaguars simply enjoy the altered state of mind. After all, animals have been known to seek out intoxicating substances, not just for survival, but for fun. One thing is clear: jaguars know exactly what they're doing. They don't just chew on any random plant. They seek out the same vine, over and over, for reasons scientists still don't fully understand. And if you think about it, jaguars are kind of living proof that humans weren't the first to experiment with mind-altering substances. Long before anyone brewed ayahuasca, jaguars were out there taking trips into the jungle and coming back with a whole new perspective. Birds and intoxicating berries. Humans aren't the only ones who occasionally overdo it on alcohol. Some birds have been getting tipsy off fermented berries for centuries, and they're not exactly subtle about it. Take the Bohemian waxwing, for example. These birds love fruit. But when winter rolls around and fresh options disappear, they settle for whatever's available, including overripe, fermented berries. The problem? Fermentation produces alcohol, and after enough of these berries, waxwings start losing their coordination. Scientists have observed them staggering on branches, struggling to take off, and even crashing into windows, the avian equivalent of having one too many at happy hour. It's not just waxwings. Robins, thrushes, and starlings have also been caught acting a little too loose after binging on old fruit. In 2014, a town in Canada had to issue a public warning about drunken birds crashing into cars and sidewalks after gorging on fermented rowan berries. And while accidental intoxication is funny enough, some birds seem to do it on purpose. In South America, certain species of parrots regularly eat mildly toxic berries that cause drowsiness and disorientation. The reason? Scientists think they do it to build up tolerance to plant toxins, which could help them survive in environments where poisonous food is common. That's right. These birds are literally microdosing poisons, like it's a wellness trend. Of course, nature has a way of keeping things balanced. Some birds have evolved enzymes that help break down alcohol faster, allowing them to metabolize fermented fruit better than humans. But when the berries are extra ripe and the bird in question lacks the right enzymes, things get messy. Drunk birds aren't just a funny sight, they're a real problem in some places. Wildlife rescuers in certain areas routinely pick up intoxicated birds after berry season peaks. Some recover after a few hours. Others? Let's just say flying under the influence doesn't always end well. Bears and their DIY painkillers. Bears may look like they have it all together. Top of the food chain, massive strength, and zero natural predators, except humans. But even the toughest animals get sick, injured, and deal with pain. Unlike humans, though, they don't have doctors. What they do have? A working knowledge of medicinal plants. Take North American black bears. When they get hurt, they don't just suffer in silence. They go looking for osha root, Ligusticum porteri, a plant long used by indigenous people as a natural painkiller and antimicrobial. These bears don't just eat it. They chew it into a paste and rub it onto wounds. Yes, you read that right. Bears are out here making their own herbal first aid kits, while humans are still getting sold overpriced natural remedies on Instagram. They're also picky about what they eat when injured. Bears have been observed rejecting nutrient-rich foods in favor of bitter herbs and roots, suggesting they prioritize healing over hunger. One bear was recorded ignoring a carcass and choosing a patch of wild valerian instead, a plant known for its calming and pain-relieving properties. That's not instinct alone, that's targeted treatment. Then there's the brown bears of Siberia. Researchers have seen them deliberately rolling in patches of anthemis, a type of wild chamomile. Why? Chamomile contains compounds that help soothe irritation, reduce swelling, and ward off parasites. So while we're making sleepy time tea, bears are out here taking full-body herbal baths. And let's talk about the anting phenomenon. Some bears have been caught rubbing themselves against ant colonies, letting the insects crawl all over them before eating them. Disgusting? Maybe. Effective? Absolutely. Ants release formic acid, which has antibacterial properties. It's basically nature's version of antiseptic spray. Scientists think bears do this to treat skin infections, bites, or parasites. Meanwhile, humans panic over a single mosquito bite. But bears don't just use plants to treat wounds, they also self-medicate for illness. In Yellowstone, grizzlies have been seen eating specific types of grass when they have stomach issues. The fibrous blades induce vomiting, helping them clear out toxins or bad food. Think of it as a natural cleanse, except way more effective than any overpriced juice detox. Capuchin monkeys and jungle bug spray. Capuchin monkeys are small, clever, and surprisingly good at DIY skincare. Unlike humans, they don't have shelves full of overpriced lotions and repellents. Instead, they use a mix of plants, insects, and good old-fashioned problem-solving to keep themselves healthy. One of their best tricks? Bug repellent. In Central and South America, capuchins have been spotted rubbing themselves with citrus leaves, onions, and even millipedes. The reason? These plants and insects release chemicals that repel mosquitoes, ticks, and other parasites. Basically, capuchins figured out insect repellent before humans even invented citronella candles. The millipede part is especially wild. Some capuchins bite into millipedes and smear their secretions all over their fur. Disgusting? Yes. Effective? Also yes. Millipedes release benzoquinones, a compound that deters bugs and has mild antibiotic properties. In other words, these monkeys are using organic, all-natural protection, while humans are still debating which brand of bug spray is less toxic. But capuchins don't stop at insect repellent. When they have skin irritations or infections, they've been seen chewing medicinal leaves and applying the paste to wounds. Scientists have documented capuchins using plants with antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, basically making their own jungle neosporin. And then there's the stress relief factor. Some capuchins have been observed rubbing plants all over their bodies in a way that doesn't seem strictly medicinal. Researchers think this could be a form of self-soothing, like a spa day, but in the middle of the rainforest. The best part? It seems to work. Studies show that capuchins who regularly practice these behaviors have fewer parasites and lower stress levels than those who don't. These monkeys are living proof that you don't need a drugstore aisle to stay healthy. They've got natural insect repellent, wound care, and even stress relief routines, all figured out. Dolphins and coral medicine. Dolphins might be the ocean's most playful creatures, but don't let their goofy smiles fool you. They know their way around medicine. And no, they're not out here chewing on seaweed and hoping for the best. They've got a very specific routine for treating their skin, and it involves coral. In the Red Sea, researchers have observed dolphins rubbing their bodies against certain types of coral and sponges. This isn't random scratching. These marine animals are targeting specific coral species that release bioactive compounds with antimicrobial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory properties. In other words, dolphins have figured out how to use coral as a natural skin treatment. The star players in this process? Rhopaloides odorabile, Ursinia, and Sarcophyton coral species. These corals produce mucus-rich in antibacterial and antifungal compounds, which dolphins appear to use as a preventative skincare routine. Some scientists believe this helps them treat infections, rashes, and even sun damage. Yes, dolphins get sunburn too. Being cute in shallow tropical waters has its downsides. And it's not just casual rubbing. Dolphins seem to line up to take turns at certain coral spots, as if they're waiting at an underwater spa. They methodically rub specific parts of their bodies, especially their bellies, fins, and sides, against the coral, ensuring that the medicinal compounds stick to the areas that need treatment. This isn't just some quirky dolphin behavior, it's learned and repeated. Young dolphins watch older ones doing it and then start practicing it themselves. That means it's not just instinct, it's tradition. Scientists believe dolphins pass down knowledge about which coral species work best, turning it into a multi-generational wellness practice. And let's be real, while humans are out here getting scammed by overpriced skincare products with reef-safe ingredients, dolphins are literally using the reef itself. No marketing, no gimmicks, just straight-up natural dermatology from the ocean's original experts. Sloths and their built-in pharmacy. Sloths might look like they have life figured out, hanging from trees, sleeping all day, avoiding drama. But their secret to survival isn't just about staying chill. They have an entire pharmacy growing on their fur. Let's break this down. A sloth's fur isn't just fur. It's a full ecosystem. It's covered in algae, fungi, and bacteria, some of which have potent medicinal properties. Scientists have discovered that some of the fungi living in sloth fur produce compounds that fight parasites, bacteria, and even cancer cells. Meanwhile, humans spend billions of dollars on antibiotics that are getting less effective by the year. This isn't an accident. Sloths allow these microbes to grow, turning their fur into a living, breathing health shield. The algae that thrive in their fur don't just help with camouflage, they also produce antimicrobial chemicals that keep infections away. Sloths don't need to roll in medicinal plants like other animals. They carry their medicine with them, and the benefits don't stop there. Some of the fungi found in sloth fur have been tested against deadly human diseases. In one study, scientists found compounds in sloth fur that were effective against Plasmodium falciparum, the parasite that causes malaria. Imagine that. While we're still trying to control malaria, sloths have been chilling in the treetops with built-in protection. Sloths are also extremely selective about what they eat, often choosing leaves with mild toxins that help them avoid parasites. Their slow metabolism allows them to process these chemicals without getting sick, making them even more resistant to infections. It's like a permanent detox, except it actually works. And here's the kicker: this entire system has existed for millions of years. While humans keep messing up antibiotics with overuse, sloths have maintained a perfectly balanced natural pharmacy on their backs. They don't need a doctor's visit or prescriptions, just a healthy patch of fur and some time in the trees. Reindeer and their psychedelic mushrooms. Reindeer aren't just Santa's ride. They're also hardcore foragers with a taste for psychedelics. In the Arctic, these animals have been spotted seeking out Amanita muscaria, the bright red mushrooms with white spots that look like they belong in a fairy tale. The twist? These mushrooms contain hallucinogenic compounds. Reindeer don't just eat them by accident, they actively seek them out, even digging through snow to find them. The mushrooms contain muscimol and ibotenic acid, which affect the nervous system, causing altered perception, increased energy, and sometimes erratic behavior. In other words, reindeer get high on purpose. And what happens after they eat these mushrooms? Well, let's just say things get weird. Some reindeer run in circles, jump erratically, or stare into space like they just discovered the meaning of life. Others appear unusually playful, nudging each other and acting far more social than usual. Scientists still debate whether they do this for fun, survival, or both. But here's where it gets even stranger. Humans took notes. Indigenous groups in Siberia noticed that reindeer were tripping on mushrooms and decided to give it a try. Some tribes even drank the urine of intoxicated reindeer to experience a more filtered, potent version of the hallucinogen. Yes, you read that right. Reindeer pee as an early psychedelic delivery system. Some historians even believe this reindeer-mushroom connection influenced the legend of Santa Claus. Think about it: flying reindeer, red and white imagery, and a magical journey, all suspiciously similar to Amanita muscaria trips. It's not a confirmed fact, but it makes a lot of sense when you line up the details. One thing's for sure, reindeer knew about psychedelic experiences before humans even had shamans. Whether they do it for a mental reset, parasite control, or just because they enjoy the ride, one thing is clear: nature has its own way of experimenting. Bees and their resin-based medicine. Bees aren't just buzzing around making honey, they're also running tiny apothecaries inside their hives. While humans rely on drugstores for medicine, bees collect plant resins to create their own powerful antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral remedy called propolis. Here's how it works. Bees gather resin from trees, particularly from poplars, willows, and conifers. This sticky substance is packed with bioactive compounds that can kill bacteria and fungi. The bees mix it with wax, pollen, and their own enzymes to create a medical-grade sealant for the hive. And they don't just use it randomly. Bees apply propolis to entrances, cracks, and weak points in the hive to keep out harmful microbes. Think of it as nature's version of disinfecting wipes, except far more effective. Scientists have found that propolis contains flavonoids and phenolic acids, which work against bacteria, fungi, and even some viruses. But here's where it gets wild. Bees also use propolis to embalm intruders. If something too big to remove, like a mouse or a lizard, dies inside the hive, bees cover it in propolis to prevent decomposition. Essentially, they mummify threats before they can infect the colony. Humans didn't even master embalming techniques until ancient Egypt, but bees? They've been doing it for millions of years. Even more impressive? Propolis helps bees fight off their own diseases. Some bees have been observed deliberately lining the hive with more propolis when infections break out. Researchers call this social immunity, a collective medical strategy where bees instinctively increase their hive's defenses when needed. And as if that wasn't enough, humans caught on. Propolis has been used in folk medicine for centuries, and modern research backs it up. Studies show it has potential to fight infections, inflammation, and even some cancers. Meanwhile, bees have been using it without any scientific studies to tell them it works. So while humans still struggle with antibiotic resistance, bees built a fully functional natural pharmacy inside their own homes. No prescriptions, no waiting rooms, just millions of years of evolutionary wisdom in a single drop of resin.